Okay. So far, so good? Let's do something a little bit more interesting. Google Maps. So we're going to try to incorporate Google Maps into this page here. All right. And here it is. Maps.googleapis.com, map API, blah, 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 blah. All you have to do is copy that. And I'll leave it there for a second if people need to write it. Well, we're not going to have time. So if we go back here, you want to add that guy in along with the settings as well. So if you go to settings and JavaScript, this one's not a quick add, so you're just going to click in the empty spot below the jQuery and paste that guy in there. All right. This will give us access to the Google Maps API. Save and close when you're done. Okay, let's see if we can do some stuff. It's going to look a little weird. All right. First of all, this jQuery has a special operator called $, which is a selector. Okay, and what we're going to do is you do a $, and then a set of parentheses, and you select something. There's a special selection, which is the entire document, which doesn't take anything inside the parameters. This is a function. You're going to give a function as a parameter here. It looks like this. You just put a set of empty braces and then an arrow. I think right at the beginning when we first looked at functions, we saw that this was a way to make an anonymous function. We didn't use it very much, but this is just a function with no parameters. Okay, and it's called a callback function here. This function is going to be called when a certain event occurs. And this special one that we put at the beginning is called when the web page is ready, when the web page is loaded. Okay, we're ready to go. This function gets called. So we put our sort of our setup stuff for the application here. Okay, now here's what we're going to do. I'm going to start by saying let long get negative 118.7096. That's longitude. Okay, so I'm setting a longitude for a map. And then let's let latitude be 34.0414. Okay, just a certain point on the map. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is add a map to our inside that box, inside the big purple box. Okay, so here's what it looks like. We're going to say let map options, excuse me, map options like this, get an object. All right, so we're going to kind of tie into the objects we saw last week, right? Remember, every object was inside a set of curly braces, and then you had key value pairs. Right? We did like the Beatles one where you had the name and then the actual name. All right, right, George and Harrison. Yeah, anyway, so that's what these curly braces are. They're setting up an object. And inside of that object, we're going to put some key value pairs that are part of the Google Maps library. It's just set by define. First of all, we're going to say zoom 8. And that controls how far in you're zoomed on the map. Okay, then we're going to say, comma, center gets, a colon, I should say, and the center will be an object itself, which will be a longitude and a latitude. And it goes lat first, so you say lat, and I'll say latitude from that variable I defined above, and LNG for longitude, which is long. You notice if I reach the end, it kind of comes off screen, so I'm going to resize so I can see the code a little better. Okay, and that's good. After that, I'm going to give a map type ID. Capitalization matters. There's actually a lowercase d on that. Okay, and there's a lot of different, well, I'd say there's 4 different predefined Google Map types. You have to type it this way. It's Google, so this is an object itself, google.maps.map.type ID, this time with a capital M, dot, and what you have is like roadmap or satellite or hybrid, and I'm going to do terrain, which kind of shows the type of terrain that you're on. Okay, and then this one we'll just have to put, I won't give much of a explanation here, but disable default UI. It's true. Okay, so that's map options. So we defined the type of map we're going to put in there, and now we'll actually put it in. Okay, we'll say first of all, let map get document. So a document is a special object in web pages that represents the entire web page. Then we can get to just a particular element on that web page by saying get element by ID map. Okay, and now that is referring back to our HTML when we made this div and we gave it an ID of map. I'm referring to that map here. So saying get me the element within my HTML that has the ID map. All right. Cool. We're going to set another object called MyMap, which is going to be the actual Google Map, which is going to use the Google Map API. We make a new google.maps.map, and we put it into element map with the map options. Okay, and this is all just from how a Google Map is set up. All right, let's see if this works. Type run. Well, you might want to save first. Ta-da! So this longitude and latitude that I put in here is the exact longitude and latitude for Pepperdine University. Okay, so if you zoom in, so we get the nice thing about object-oriented programming is that when we got this Google map from the Google API on a server somewhere, there's a whole lot of code that goes on behind this that Google has nicely done for us, including zooming capability. So if you zoom in with your mouse pad, you can see closer. Unfortunately, I zoomed in the wrong spot, but if I go over here, here's Malibu. If you zoom in closely enough, you'll see Pepperdine and all the fun stuff there. Okay. There you go. I think we overshot. There's Paradise Cove. Okay. Anyway. Now, let's try this again. If I rerun, I'll get rid of the zoom I did here. You can see that. You just play around with the longitude and latitude. Make this possible. So negative means to the west, right, for longitude, and positive means above the equator for latitude. Negative means below the equator. So let's just put this below the equator, negative 34, and see what happens. Well, it's out in the middle of the ocean, unfortunately, at that point. All right, but you can try different ones. In fact, here's another one. If I give you negative 34.6, let's try that for the latitude, and for the longitude, let's try negative 58.38. That's where our Buenos Aires campus is. All right, so if I change the zoom number, I mean, basically I have programmatic control of this whole thing. I think a smaller zoom is closer in. So if I go down to 7 and run again, I get closer in there. Maybe try a 5. Might get down to the street level. Or am I getting farther away? Yeah, I think I'm getting farther away, actually. Yeah, definitely. All right, so try, instead of getting smaller, let's get larger, like a 12, and run there. Okay, now we're closer in. Okay. Okay, so anyway, you can play around with that. Try different guys here instead of terrain. Try like roadmap on all caps, and you'll see what happens there. Okay, let me do a little bit more here. So this is basically, we've got some functionality from a remote service. We can use all of our JavaScript tricks that we've had before. One thing I like, kind of the idea I have for this application is to be able to pick between different campuses around the world for Pepperdine and have them show up automatically. So we did it kind of manually here by changing the longitude and latitude. What I'm going to do is back in the HTML, let me add another bit of code here. I'm going to make another div and an ending div. And basically you can do this to set up every line of code can be amongst div. Now in here I'm going to put a special HTML object which is called a select. Right? If I type the word select and hit tab, it kind of autofills it for me. Every select has a name and an ID. We'll make them the same, which is going to be city. And then I'm going to hit enter between these guys. And what a select is like a drop-down menu. Okay, so I'm going to make a drop-down menu name city, and then I'm going to give different options here. If I say option and hit tab, it'll expand out for one option tab. Kind of a cool thing you can do in this editor too is you can do things like this, option times 4, and then hit tab. It will give you 4 options, okay, that you can quickly fill out. All right, so within our div and in our select, we have 4 options. Each option has a value where you can specify a value that's going to be important in JavaScript. So let me say Malibu, BA, London, and Florence. Yeah, that one. Okay, and then that's for JavaScript. Now what we're going to write here is what will show up on the screen. I'll just put in the words Malibu, Buenos Aires, London, and Florence. All right, save that. And when I run, well, it's not centered very well because I did this little trick on my CSS with the left margin being over that way. So if I say the same thing here for city, hash city, that's my drop-down menu, and I say margin left and make it match what I had up there. Now it's lined up with the map. Hard to see on the screen, but you can probably see it on yours. That says Malibu, Buenos Aires, London, Florence, and I can pick them independently. All right, so what I'd like to have happen is once I pick one of these city names, the map automatically updates to that new location, right? Okay, so simple little application here. Okay, here's how we're going to do it. Back to JavaScript. I am going to make a new bit of information. In fact, I don't need this longitude and latitude anymore. Let me kill those guys. Okay. Break those out. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to make an object. Okay. I'm going to say let location get an object. Okay, and basically what I'm going to do is do the same thing I did for Malibu. I did give a latitude and longitude for Malibu, but I'll give a different latitude and longitude for each of the 4 cities. Okay, and I'll name them by the city. So, and I'm going to make it match those names I used in the select. So I'm going to say Malibu, key of Malibu, value, and the value is going to be the same thing I put inside of the center here, right? Latitude and longitude. So I'm going to put an object here, which will be latitude, and I have some numbers down here already. So Malibu is 34.0414, and longitude, LNG, is negative 118.7096. Okay. Buenos Aires is a latitude. We did this one already, right? But it's the spacing doesn't really matter what the colon is. Negative 34.60, and longitude is negative 118.70. Oh wait, no, that's not it. Longitude is negative 58. That's the Malibu one. Negative 58.38. Comma, right? Different key value pairs. All right, so you see that the key value pairs is a key, and the value is another object, and that object has a key and a value. So it's nested. Nested objects is basically what we have here. All right, London, latitude, and a longitude. Latitude for London is 51.51, and longitude is negative 0.13. That makes sense, right? They made up latitude and longitude, so it's right on pace there. Okay, and Florence, last one. Latitude and longitude. Latitude is 43.77, and longitude is 11.26. Got it. Okay. Right after this, I'm going to say let point get location location sub Malibu. Remember, when we had objects, we can get values of the object by using the square bracket notation and putting one of the keys as a string. Right? So if I say location sub Malibu, it will return the latitude longitude pair that you see at the top. Which means, stay. I accidentally hit something there. Which means when I have the center and my map options, instead of saying this, which is based on the no longer existing variables longitude and latitude, I can say the center is point, which is ultimately the same thing, a longitude-latitude pair. Okay, let's see what this has bought us. This changed so far. If I run this, same as before, but I've just done it through a different way. I've gotten that longitude-latitude through the location object. Okay, let's hook it in to the drop-down menu. So when I change from Malibu to Buenos Aires, I automatically get a change. Here's how this is going to work. Now, instead of instead of automatically doing this, I'm going to put it inside of a function. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new selection function, and it's going to look like this: $, and then parentheses, the string hashtag city. If you look back at the HTML code, that was the name of my select. That's the name of my dropdown, right? The ID is city. Hashtag means ID. So when I say this in jQuery, I'm getting the city element on the web. Okay. Now, so that selects the element. We have some built-in methods for these elements within jQuery, and what I'm going to do is say .change. Okay, the change function fires whenever a certain element has a change to it. In the case of our drop-down menu, when we have it on Malibu, and I click on Malibu and change it to Buenos Aires, that fires the change event, and the change event will call this function. Okay, so inside of this, I write what's called a callback function, and a callback function is a function we run when a certain event is fired. All right, so it's going to look like this. We'll put another anonymous function, which will just be a set of parentheses, no parameters is basically what I'm saying, and then that arrow means function, and then I put the function definition. So I'm going to do it like this, and semicolon at the end. All right, so whatever comes inside of here is a little function I'm running whenever that change happens. Okay, that's the weird part. The other part is going to be just like our normal JavaScript, okay? So write some code here. Aha, well the code that we're going to put in here is basically what we have already, okay? Well, almost. We're going to say let point get location sub, well, and what we want here, instead of being Malibu, we want to be whatever city's been selected, okay? And what that's going to be will be the city object, sorry, with a hashtag, okay, the object that has ID city, and its value, which is you can access with the val function. That's going to be the string, either Malibu or Buenos Aires or London or Florence, and more specifically, it's going to be not what's shown in the menu, but what's here on the value part of each option. Malibu, BA, London, Florence. Okay? So, it's going to say Malibu or BA or London, Florence. I made it match there on purpose. So this is going to be one of the four longitude latitude pairs we set up as point. I'm going to go ahead and get this map option stuff and the map and the my map. I'm going to cut all that and I'm going to paste it inside of the function instead, like so. If I highlight it and hit tab, it'll tab over. Okay, and so all that did by moving that inside of this function, it means it's not going to run right when the application starts. It will only run when I change which city I select, which means it's going to take one of the cities dynamically and load that in. All right, so here, let's try to run. If I save and run at this point, you'll notice instead of having a map, I'm starting with a purple screen because this code doesn't run until I make a change to the city object. When I change the city object, say to London, it will load in the London coordinates and load that map. If I change from London to Florence, I get Florence. If I change to Malibu, I get Malibu. Okay. Okay, and there's all sorts of other stuff you can do here. If you look at the documentation for the Google Maps, you can drop pins in various locations. If we had time, we could give you a demonstration of adding loops in here and say dropping pins at random spots or things like that. But have fun with it and play it on your own. I hope this was just a little bit of a demonstration of how you could use the knowledge you've gained this semester in a new direction, okay, if you want.